What's up, YouTube Gen X? Okay. I'm having a discussion, right, with the young lady who's going through a difficult time, right? Um, she broke up with her boyfriend. She's letting me know everything that went on and what happened. So we're having a discussion about what happened. Um, how much of it was her fault or his fault, or maybe the whole idea of stuff doesn't work out. Once again, everything is not guaranteed. One of the biggest reasons to why I promote the whole idea of women getting it together earlier is because nothing is guaranteed. You can be around great men, but it doesn't mean it's going to work out, right? And just because he may be stable and, a good man and a good person, and you're a good woman and a good person, it doesn't mean that it's going to happen. There's a lot of different factors that have to go your way, right? There is what you put into it, but unfortunately, there's that component. I don't want to say luck, but then there's that sort of, hey, hopefully it's in the cards. So there's that component that, pretty much says that it's going to be out of your hands to a certain degree, right? But nevertheless, we're talking, she runs to the whole idea of black men having a commitment issue. Um, and my problem with that is that the women don't understand. There's a difference between fear of commitment and fear of the anchor, right? What does that mean? Men, especially younger men, okay, now this lady, she's relatively younger. Younger men are always going to be afraid of the anchor, right? They don't want to be tied down. Whether he's with you or by himself, they don't want to be anchored down. I'm at the point where I don't want the anchor, but I understand that I have to be ready to deploy it. So I'm getting it ready. You know what I mean? In terms of not just with women, but just across the board, right? So I'm at the point now where it's just like, okay, I've seen where I need to be. I kind of see where I fit in, and my strengths and my weaknesses. So I'm about ready to deploy that anchor. I don't know where yet. I have a region, but I know it's coming up soon, right? But nevertheless, I understand why younger men are afraid of the anchor, right? We want that idea, or we want what's what I'm looking for? We like the fact knowing that nothing is defined. We can still feel around and explore options across the board, not just with women, but just in terms of life. So there is that fear of the anchor. And if you're with the man and you're trying to put down that anchor, he's going to have a problem with it. So he may have to break up with you, considering his age. Now, this is different from the fear of commitment, right? There are men that don't have a problem in being in a committed relationship. They just don't want the anchor. So I have no problem in being in my boat and we're just wandering and cruising around, right? And we're in a committed relationship because we don't have that anchor out. We're not worried about getting married and buying a house and having children. We have each other. We're both moving in a positive direction. So that time will come when it comes, right? So we're good. And that is not a commitment issue, right? It's more so I don't want the anchor. See, a lot of the times as men, we view our commitment to you based off of the idea that I'm with you. I'm coming home to you every day. I'm telling you how I feel. Women, y'all view his commitment as him putting down the anchor, right? So a man doesn't love you unless he puts a ring on it, or, unless you have a child together or you move in together, right? That's not how we view it. So yeah, there's going to be younger men who may go away from the relationship, not so much because they have a commitment issue, and this may even extend to older men. Anytime a man is not ready to anchor down, right? He may be on something like, I'm not trying to be with you, right? But if you read it as him having a commitment issue, you may have got it wrong, because he may have no problems in wanting to be with you and being committed to you, right? And that has to be understood. I'm not saying that it's a right or a wrong. All I'm trying to say is that that's what you have to understand, right? That's not how men operate, especially when you're dealing with, black men. We spend a lot of our time so caught up on trying to stay productive, get that sort of employment, be secure, considering where black men stand in the world of employment. So when we're done in the workplace or the classroom, we're not really trying to be bogged down with all the little anchor issues. Oh, marriage and a family and moving in together in a house and a mortgage and, let's manage this and combine money this. Like, when we get there, we get there, right? I understand that other men may be more committed at a younger age, which I can debate, but for the sake of argument, let's say they are. Well, are they worried about what black men have to go through, right? Men have brought this up before, and even I've had this discussion even at the academic level where they've talked about suicide and how it's, lower in certain communities, right? Let a white guy have stuff not go his way, he's going to off himself, right? Shoot himself and shoot everybody else up, right? Just can be completely disgruntled, right? But for black men, we have to deal with it, right? So we deal with it, and that takes a lot. It takes a lot to deal with it, and you can see why other men snap, to tell you the truth. I would never consider suicide, and I don't know too many black men that would do so as well, or at least the ones I know, but you can see why another group who feels like they should be in power struggle. Going back even to unemployment. It's funny how employment issues only happen when your educated white man can't find a job, or your blue-collar handyman, Tim the Tool Man Taylor sort of white guy can't find a job. Now America has a big fucking problem now, right? But your black guys across the board, whether he has a briefcase or a lunch pail, is sitting back and I'm like, yep, welcome to reality. So we're dealing with that, right? So because of that, we just want to chill, we want to relax, we don't want to be tied down and burdened with anything else, right? But that does not imply that there's a commitment issue there, right? You can't say that because he doesn't want to settle down that he has a commitment issue, right? Not to say that, once again, that a man can't have a commitment issue, but you just can't judge it based off of him not wanting to throw down that anchor. Because once again, he may have no problems in exploring and going off in the boat or going off on some trip, right, with you right next to him. And you guys are committed together, right? Even for me, once again, if somebody put a gun to my head and said, you're going to have to wake up tomorrow and be married, I'm not going to trip. Because me being married to her doesn't mean we're going to have the anchor down. Versus somebody putting a gun to my head and says, hey man, you're going to have this sort of girlfriend that's kind of dependent on you and you already have a kid together. I'm like, I'll take the wife. I'll take the wife with no anchor versus no sort of, I guess, legal commitment to each other, but, we're living together and we're financially obligated to each other and we have a child together, right? Because there's still that element of freedom, right? For a lot of men, they don't have that big problem with having that chick and, there's this sort of adventure to their life, right? And there's no sort of major, we have to be here, we have to do this, we have to do that. That time will come, right? That time will come. But, if you're dealing with a younger man, it will be an issue, right? So if you are ready for that sort of anchor, your best bet is to deal with older men. If that's what you want. If you're not trying to accept the fact that he's not ready for the anchor, deal with older men. That's all I have to say, right? I understand where you're coming from as a woman, right? Don't get me wrong. I know that women tend to plan. That's in your nature, right? Especially when a woman knows she's dealing with a certain type of man who may have his shit together. You will get the whole, I'm going to plan everything out. I know he hasn't proposed to me, but I'm secretly looking at wedding dresses, and I'm secretly looking at engagement rings, and I'm secretly doing X, Y, and Z. I know, right? We know, right? We see it happen. Even with my sister before she got married, before even my brother-in-law proposed, she would come home to visit, and the sisters, my mom and my sister, they're having their secret girls-only conversation, but we know what's going on, and they're watching wedding this, wedding that. I'm like, yo, he hasn't even proposed to you yet. But that's how women are in terms of the planning and whatnot. All I'm saying is that you have to understand what a younger black man is dealing with and what he may not be ready for. right? So if you're for sure that you're ready for that sort of anchor, right, you know, you have to go with older men, right? You just have to. So anyway, that's my vid. Y'all take it easy. God bless.